or welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Lee and I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. Hi! Oh my gosh. I am here. I am back. I have had the craziest last 2 months of my life. When I tell you that I am not the same person that I was when I made my last video, I am not kidding. I have had some crazy things happen to me these last 2 months. I unfortunately lost my mom to cancer back in March, and I also got a new job. So yeah, things have been a little crazy and life-changing and just insane these last 2 months. But you know what? I am here. We are back-ish. And this is just how things are gonna be. But yeah, my reading for these last 2 months have not been great. It has been kind of a crazy time. I've only been able to read 3 books for both March and April, so I only have 6 books that I'm talking about today. But you know what? That's okay. Life happens sometimes. Reading gets put on the back burner, and that's what happened. So it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna just move on, and we're going to talk about these books. Alright, so first up we have the books that I read in March. Like I said, I only read 3 for each month, so let's just go ahead and dive in. So the first book that I read in March is The Half-Hearted Queen by Charlie N. Holmberg. This is a sequel to the book The Shattered King, which I read back in February, I believe. And I'm not going to get too much into detail about what this book is about because then it would reveal plots from book 1. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but just know that we are picking up from the events of book 1, and our main characters, Nim and Ren, are back and they are better than ever. I don't remember what I rated this. I think I gave it a 4.25 stars. Or a 4-star, I think. I do know that I did enjoy book 2 more than I enjoyed this book. I think it was just because book 1 was more about them, like Nim and Rin, like finding out about each other and like growing a relationship, whereas this book was much more about the political parts of their world, and I didn't enjoy it as much as like I did the events of the first book, but I did still enjoy this. I thought that this was a good read, and I completely understand why this book went into that direction. I'm not sure if this is just a duology or if it's going to be a trilogy. I feel like we could get a trilogy out of this book, like out of this series, but I also feel like this would be a good solid duology. This book just came out like at the beginning of this year, like I said, back in February, I believe. So yeah, like I said, I enjoyed this. It was a little bit more political than what I personally like, but that's just a me and my opinion kind of thing. That's not really a book thing, because I feel like if you do like the politics of a book, you would really enjoy this. So yeah, really thought that this was good, pretty solid, but I don't know. Alright, so the next book that I ended up reading is one I don't have a physical copy of. I was going to get one, but I just haven't gotten there yet. And it is also a sequel. At one point I was reading like all sequels. It was actually kind of funny. But that is Go Luck Yourself by Sarah Rash. This is the sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it is a St. Patrick's Day themed book, which is why I read it in March. I did finish it a little bit after St. Patrick's Day, because then during St. Patrick's Day I was actually in the hospital with my mom, so I wasn't able to actually read it on St. Patrick's Day and finish it on St. Patrick's Day, but I was able to finish it shortly afterwards. So basically that book follows the brother of the main character in book 1. His name is Chris, and he ends up kind of befriending and becoming like a frenemy to the Prince of St. Patrick's Day. And he actually has to visit Ireland when some bad press ends up happening to the Prince of St. Patrick's Day. I loved that book. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4.75 or a 4.5. Unlike The Half-Hearted Queen, I really enjoyed that book way more than book 1. I didn't hate book 1, but something about book 2, like Go Luck Yourself, was just so good. Like the relationship between Chris and the Prince of St. Patrick's Day, which I can't remember what his name is. I think it's Locke or something like that. I could be totally wrong. But their chemistry and their story and their interactions was just so good. So good. I loved them together. I really loved how, you know, I like the kind of enemies to lovers thing that they ended up doing. I'm not a huge fan of enemies to lovers, to be honest, but I definitely really liked, you know, them and that kind of mentality. I thought it was really, really fun. It created a lot of fun banter, which I'm always up for good banter. Banter is probably my favorite. So yeah, I also just loved the fact that I was seeing Chris get his moment to shine, because Chris in book 1 and just in general, like it is said in his book, in like both books, that Chris has very much been a person that has just faded into the background, and he has been kind of in his brother's shadow because his brother has always been the one that's kind of been like spotlighted. And it was just really nice for me to kind of see him kind of have his moment and just really come to himself, and I loved it. And when I found out that this story was about his brother, like about Chris, I was so excited, because I thought it was just going to be like an interconnected standalone. I thought it was just going to be about two completely random people that were just different holidays in the same world. But when I found out that it was about Chris, it was like, oh, I'm gonna love this book even more, and I totally did. I also really loved the brother, Nick. I loved Nick. I thought he stepped up and was the best brother ever. He grew so much from book 1 to book 2, and it was so fun to watch. And then of course Iris from book 1 is also present in book 2 as well, and I really loved her character as well. I think she's one of my favorite characters in that duology. So yeah, I loved them. I loved that book, and I highly recommend the Royals and Romance duology, I think is what it's called, which is The Nightmare Before Christmas and Go Luck Yourself. Both of those books are fantastic, and they are perfect for their respective holidays, and I would highly, highly recommend both of them. But my last book that I read in March was actually my book club book for March, and that is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This book was a gothic dream. It's basically about these set of sisters who have always kind of been odd. It's very much like the sisters from Practical Magic, like that kind of vibe. Like everybody thinks that they're witches, everybody doesn't want to be around them, because when they were really, really little, what ended up happening was they disappeared without a trace for like a month. Like their parents looked away for a second, and all of a sudden all 3 of the sisters were gone. And they were gone for a month, and then when they came back, they were just totally different. Their eyes were different, they had weird appetites, like something happened to them, and nobody can figure out, not even the sisters, like what happened. And so this book pretty much follows Iris. She is the youngest of the 3, and she has been wanting just a very normal life. She kind of wants to put her history behind her. She just wants to go to school. You know, neither one of her older sisters finished school, so she wants to be the one who has like the normal life. Well, one of her older sisters ends up going missing, and she is like, what? And it turns out her older sister is trying to figure out exactly what happened to her, and she might actually already know. So this book was super duper interesting. There is a little bit of magical realism involved in it. Nothing too insane, but it's definitely really, really cool, like the way that the story like ends up going. Like you never really think it's gonna go that way, and then it does go that way, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I am just still, I think about this book a lot. It was a really fun read for my book club. I felt like it was the perfect read. If you want to join my book club, I have a link to join it below in my bio. So go ahead and join, or in the description down below. Yeah, I highly recommend this, especially if you like more gothic, kind of macabre, mysterious kind of like books. This is really, really good. I loved Iris. I thought she was a really good character. Her older sisters were also very, very interesting. Again, the plot was super duper interesting. I really enjoyed the way that it went. Definitely was not what I was expecting, but yeah, I enjoyed this book. I do recommend it, and yeah, if you haven't read this book yet, I would definitely give it a chance. All right, now let's go ahead and jump on into the 3 books that I read in April. Like I said, I only was able to read 3 books as well in April because I had gotten a new job. So my life has been very busy. I actually moved to a full-time job. I've only been working part-time up until this point. So it's been quite a bit of an adjustment for me. Like when I come home, I am usually very tired. I usually go to bed a lot earlier than I used to. So it's just been hard to kind of sit and read, but I have gotten better. I'm slowly but surely getting used to it, but it's definitely been difficult. So the first book that I finished in April is Booked at Midnight, which, like I said, is also a sequel. I read a lot of sequels in March and April. So that book is the sequel to the Midnight Book Club, which is a book I read back in, oh gosh, November, I think. I really loved that book. It's basically about this girl whose aunt passes away, and the girl ends up acquiring her bookshop, and she finds out that at midnight, characters from the books that are on the recommended table end up coming to life. And so this is the sequel from that. She decides to put out a bunch of Charles Dickens novels on the recommended reads table, and of course a whole bunch of characters come to life in the bookshop during the night, and she ends up meeting a side character from, oh gosh, which novel was it? One of the Charles Dickens novels that's, again, didn't have the best storyline. And so she decides to do the same thing like she did in the first book and give that character kind of her own happy ending. I enjoyed that book. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as I did book 1, just because it was a lot of the same thing. It got kind of repetitive from the first book. Maybe if I had read it a lot later after I had read book 1, because like I said, I read this about 4 months after I read, or 5 months, and maybe if I had waited maybe a year or so after I read book 1, I might have enjoyed it more, but it definitely felt like I was just kind of reading the same story over again. But, you know, I did really enjoy it still. The main highlight, though, is our main character and her love interest, which I'm having a hard time remembering names today. I'm so sorry. They are having a lot more progression in their relationship, and it's much more about them kind of figuring out where they want the relationship to go. And I really enjoyed that part of it. I love them together. I thought that they were very sweet. I think that them as a couple just is so good. I really loved it. And yeah, I enjoyed both books. I do recommend both of them. I think it's a fun concept of, you know, meeting characters from books that are coming to life during the night and maybe giving them a happier ending by writing another book. I think that concept is really, really good, but I would recommend giving some time between reading book 1 and book 2, because book 2 is a lot of the same themes and writing as book 1. So the last 2 books I actually finished on the same day because I did a 24-hour readathon during April, and I was able to finish 2 books in one day. So the first book that I finished was Spellbound by F.T. Lukens. I'm not really sure if I said your name right. I am so sorry if I didn't. And so this book, it follows a boy and then a non-binary person, and they live in a world that has magic, and they have these things called ley lines, which are very similar to like power lines. That's the closest thing that I can relate them to. And the ley lines and how close you are to them determines how powerful your magic is. So one of our main characters, Rook, which that's not his actual name, that's the name he is given. He kind of wants to get involved in the magic again because he used to live with his grandma that was magical, but when she passes away, he's kind of excluded and kicked out of the magical land and out of the magical like parts of the town, and he is told like, you know, you're not magical, so you can't be involved in this. So being the stubborn boy that he is, he ends up getting a job as like a assistant to a very powerful sorceress. And through that, he ends up meeting Sun, which like I said, they use they them pronouns. I'm sorry if I messed that up. I just know that I don't mean to. It just might happen. And Sun is a assistant to another sorceress, and the 2 sorcerers kind of have a frenemies type of relationship, and you know, basically wild stuff happens, and then Sun and Rook kind of develop a relationship, and they're super duper cute, and it's just a really fun read. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a fun, you know, not super crazy read. It is very similar to books that I've read before, but it was fun. You know, I liked the plot. I thought it was fun. I did love the characters of Sun and Rook. I thought that they were both really fun characters to kind of follow throughout this crazy story. And I also loved Rook's sorceress, like his boss. She ends up becoming really, really like maternal towards Rook throughout the story, and I really loved her growth throughout the story. But yeah, I thought that this was fun. It was fun. I gave it 4 stars. You know, it wasn't the most life-changing book I've ever read, but it definitely was fun. And I've also have had this in my collection for years. I think I got this book back in October of 2023. So the fact that I have finally read it and it's finally, you know, like off of my TBR list, I will call that a win. So yeah. Final book that I ended up reading for April. Like I said, April was kind of a crazy month with me adjusting to my new job. And I ended up reading that same day that I finished Spellbound. I also ended up finishing Ellen Poe, The Forgotten Lore. So this is a newer book. This is a book that I actually got through NetGalley. The Half-Hearted Queen, which I read back in March, was also through NetGalley. I forgot to mention that. And so was Booked at Midnight. So those were the 3 books that I read through NetGalley this video. But anyway, and it is about this girl by the name of Ellen, and she lives in Baltimore, and she lives in a family that believe that they are kind of related in some way to Edgar Allan Poe. They are very big Edgar Allan Poe fans, and her aunt actually runs an Edgar Allan Poe like hotel. And that is where she is staying right now because her dad is currently working in construction or something like that. So she is staying with her aunt, and things are starting to happen to Ellen. She ends up finding this journal. Then every time she sees it, the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe ends up appearing. And he wants her to solve this code of this journal, the mystery of this journal. And she ends up getting help from the new kid in school, and things go from there. I loved this book. I have always been interested in Edgar Allan Poe ever since I started learning about him in middle school. I did have to read like The Telltale Heart when I was in middle school in 8th grade, and I think I read something else by him. I think it was The Raven, maybe? I'm not really sure. But I really did enjoy learning about Edgar Allan Poe. He's always just been a very mysterious historical figure, you know, just because of the way his life was and just how dark and macabre his poems and his stories were. It's just always been like very interesting to kind of read about this guy. And so of course when I saw this book as an, you know, through NetGalley, I was like, I want it, I want to read it. And I was really excited when I got approved for it and I was able to read it because it's just so good. And it definitely did live up to my expectations. I really loved like the magical realismness to it. I loved the like learning more about Edgar Allan Poe because I'm not the biggest Edgar Allan Poe fan. Like I don't know too much about him, but it's always really fun kind of learning through like other people and kind of this story. Like if you don't really know anything about Edgar Allan Poe, this is a good book for that because it's definitely a good kind of starter to kind of learning who this guy is for the most part. But yeah, I really love the story. It has a lot of mystery to it. It kind of has a kind of puzzle pieces, we're figuring something out kind of thing, which I always really enjoy. And yeah, I would totally recommend this book. It is officially out in the world as of last month. I think it came out in early April, so about a month ago it has been out. So if you have any inkling of reading it and picking it up, I would totally recommend it because it's just so much fun. I do love the main character, Ellen. I think that she is such a little spitfire. She is definitely like a great puzzle solver. She is just, I really loved like learning about her as well as the events of this book. And it left off on a cliffhanger and it makes me so mad because I have no idea what book 2 is coming out. So that's my only spoiler, is that it does leave off on a cliffhanger, which isn't that much of a spoiler, but when I figured that, I was like, huh? What? No, you're not gonna do that to me, are you? Yeah, they did. So anyway, but yeah, like I said, I love this book. I thought it was fun. Go read it. So that concludes my bi-monthly reading wrap up for March and April. Like I said, these last 2 months have been very life-changing months for me. Lots of things have happened. I feel like I have lived an entire lifetime these last 2 months. If you would have told February me that all of these things would be happening in just 2 months, I don't think I would have believed you. But they did, and now we're here. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen in May and June, because that's usually the time of year I start slowing down, because that's when usually my life gets a little crazy and busy, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm not really sure how many books I'm going to read these next 2 months. Hopefully it'll be more than 6 total, but I don't know. But anyways, guys, that is it from me. I am going to go ahead and go. I recommend all of these books. You know, they all have been really fun reads, and I am really glad to have all of these books off of my TBR, and, you know, I'm glad that I read them. But yeah, let me know what you read these last 2 months down in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.